True Story Media.
It's okay to want an abortion. Did you know 1 in 4 people who can get pregnant will have one? So it's actually more common than most people think. At CareFM, you can choose what type of abortion care works best for you. We have in-person locations with private entrances in Atlanta, Chicago, and the Washington, D.C. areas. And we also offer medically supported abortion pills by mail in 20 states. For some people, it's more comforting to come into a private office where they can sit with one of our medical providers and either leave no longer pregnant or with abortion pills in hand. For others, they prefer to get abortion pills through the mail so they can decide the best time and place to complete the process. Getting abortion pills by mail from CareFM is simple. Fill out an online form, and a licensed provider will review your medical history. And if eligible, your medication will be shipped to you in a couple of days. Kara, our text-based abortion companion, will guide you through the process from start to finish with instructions, reminders, and answers to all your questions whenever they come up 24/7. With either choice, please know CareFM will support you every step of the way. Learn more at carefm.org.
I waited my whole life for the perfect woman. And Rachel was that woman.
Harry literally waited. He first met Rachel in 2001, and they've been seeing each other on and off for almost 25 years.
She would say to me, Javier, and this makes me sick. I just found this the other day. She said to me at one point, "You are the greatest gift of my life." She knew what to say to me to reel me in.
She tells you that it was always you, right?
She says it was always me. And she would say the most wonderful things. I haven't done this. I'm going to do this with you right now. In my phone, I would write down these things that she would say to me, like, "You're the greatest gift of my life." You know, here's one. I'm going to read a couple of these for you.
Sure.
If you'll humor me. "I love you, Harry. So much. I love you so much I can't wait to be your wife. All I can think about is you. I've never felt closer to you or anybody in my life than I do you."
But there was one thing working against them. Harry lived in Las Vegas and Rachel in Southern California. Up to this moment, they kept their relationship alive through phone calls, text messages. But in 2022, 2 decades after they first met, they made a move.
And we settled on August 27th to meet in Santa Barbara. I was waiting for her, and Javier, when she got to the hotel and she said, "I'm coming up the stairs and I'll see you in a minute," I walked out in the hallway and I hadn't seen her in several years. And I remember standing there looking at her going, she's still beautiful. She's still really beautiful. There was a hug and a kiss, and it was a different meeting from the beginning. And I don't know if I was just vulnerable or what, but I was just like, this is really good. And I think the wheels were spinning even before dinner that, like, maybe this could actually turn into something beyond just friends with benefits. And we had an amazing night. There's a bar downstairs, and we go downstairs and have some drinks at the bar, and we're just flirty and fun. And then we're waiting for our Uber, and we're in the parking lot. And I said to her, I said, "You know, if it wasn't for proximity, I would be all in. And I think we should consider how to find our way as a couple, if that's of interest to you." And that was my approach. And then within a month and a half of that, on December the 19th, I find out that she's pregnant and she has cancer on the same day. So she decides she doesn't want to go through treatment. We have this back and forth. And then
6 months later, Rachel gets admitted to the hospital.
She texted me in the morning and said, "I woke up this morning and my heart, it hurts physically, and I can't move my arm, and something's wrong." And I thought, man, she, left arm, heart attack. She thought she was displaying signs of a stroke. And I was just looking at the phone for updates. Like, please text me, please text me, please text me.
Even though he was 7 hours away, Harry was always right there with her. He kept his phone by his side, waiting to get a message, anything.
And I said it to her. And I said, you need someone that's strong enough to deal with this by your side. She knew at that point that she had me hook, line, and sinker.
Harry was with her through what she describes as intense chemotherapy.
So the radiation happens, and then she gets these tests, and every one of the tests is all bad news. There's no hope of getting out. The cancer's growing. The cells are growing. Now I have a tumor in my intestines, and I have one in my throat. And the next thing you know, she's got a brain tumor. And then by December, they're going to operate on the brain tumor. She doesn't want to do it. She's adamant. She doesn't want to go to brain surgery.
And can you visit her at the hospital if you wanted to?
Protective isolation, according to her.
What does that mean?
It means white suits, one doctor in per shift. You know, you can look it up. It happens.
I mean, this is like during COVID too, so you got that going on. And
think about boy in the plastic bubble for a minute. This was girl in the plastic bubble. I wasn't smart enough to say, you know what? I'm coming to the hospital. I don't give a fuck. I'll stand in your window and tap on the window. And I'll just be there. She's like, well, I don't want to have the brain surgery. I'd rather let the cancer take me. And I had to talk her into the brain surgery. I'm talking her into nothing, as it turns out. Like the whole thing was just a goddamn scam.
As you probably already guessed, Rachel did not have cancer. But Harry had no reason to doubt her.
It was a message Rachel's youngest daughter and I communicated through words with friends.
Oh, interesting.
Because Rachel wouldn't give her a phone, she had an iPod that she played words with friends on. I got the message from Rachel's daughter that her heart rate was dropping. Her daughter would keep me posted on things that were happening in the room. She said to me, my mom's heart rate is dropping. She's really upset today. And she literally gave me the countdown from like 40 to 38, to 35 to 25 to all this stuff. And I'm looking at my phone and I would just look down at it. And that was that moment. And I remember having tears running down my face, like heart rate is 0. And I'm thinking, the heart rate's 0. How long has this been going on? Like she's dead. Like I can't even bring you to that place right now. Thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is the day she died. And then her daughter said, they called it. They just called it. My mom is dead. And then within 10 minutes, she said one of the doctors stayed and they have a heartbeat. And her heart had stopped for, maybe 2 minutes or whatever, but she got 26 minutes worth of compressions, is what the daughter said and what Dr. Holt said.
And so this whole time, you're having this emotional roller coaster. You think you're talking with her daughter. Who were you really talking to?
It was Rachel.
Today, we're talking to Harry, the man behind the Rachel Cancer Scam podcast. As twisted as it may seem, this episode is actually a love story of when Harry loved Rachel before he learned that everything he loved about her was a lie. At Harry's request, I won't be using Rachel's last name, but every major claim that you hear on today's episode has been verified. I've reviewed the documents, the screenshots, the audio recordings, everything, and what I found out backs up his story. This is part 3 of the Cancer Sympathy Machine. I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else.
It's okay to want an abortion. Did you know 1 in 4 people who can get pregnant will have one? So it's actually more common than most people think. At CareFM, you can choose what type of abortion care works best for you. We have in-person locations with private entrances in Atlanta, Chicago, and the Washington, D.C. areas. And we also offer medically supported abortion pills by mail in 20 states. For some people, it's more comforting to come into a private office where they can sit with one of our medical providers and either leave no longer pregnant or with abortion pills in hand. For others, they prefer to get abortion pills through the mail so they can decide the best time and place to complete the process. Getting abortion pills by mail from Carafem is simple. Fill out an online form, and a licensed provider will review your medical history. And if eligible, your medication will be shipped to you in a couple of days. Cara, our text-based abortion companion, will guide you through the process from start to finish with instructions, reminders, and answers to all your questions whenever they come up 24/7. With either choice, please know Carafem will support you every step of the way. Learn more at carafem.org.
So, Harry, I listened to your podcast. I listened to 10 episodes in one sitting. I mean, it was crazy. And the thing that stood out to me is that you're describing this woman who is a con artist, yet it sounds like part of you is still in love with her.
I want to clarify that for you. First of all, thank you for going down the rabbit hole. What you're hearing is Harry 2 or 3 days after he found out that Rachel was lying. Okay. So at that point, I am fresh off of thinking that the woman I love more than I love anything in the world is in the hospital, weighs 66 pounds, has had multiple brain surgeries, is paralyzed, has a colostomy bag, and no memory of the last 10 years. So all I am is a guy that was a side piece to her. All these things lies. And then one day out of the blue, 563 days later, I find out that she's lying about everything. And what you hear in episodes 1 and 2 are my therapeutic writings because I couldn't talk to anybody. So was I still in love with her at that point? No one has asked me that question. And the answer is, yeah, I was probably still very much in love with her and heartbroken.
You almost mentioned that it started off as a love letter to her in a way, and it all had a different title, right? Like it's called Rachel Cancer Scam, but what was the original title for this?
Well, the title of episode 1 is Harry Loved Rachel, because the series of stories I wrote to her while she was in the hospital were titled Harry Loves Rachel. And I wrote them as a daily love letter. The way you just put it is beautiful. I wrote this series of letters to Rachel every single day. I wrote 80 of them, and they were about our future, about things we had done in the past, about just life and being in love. And I wrote Harry Loves Rachel, and I would send them to her every single day. Are you ready? It was like a show we were watching together. I'd record it in the morning, and then I'd send it to her, and we'd listen at bedtime together in separate places. It was romantic. It was beautiful. It was sweet. And then when this all came out, I thought, son of a bitch.
Harry is a tough looking dude, right? You got like tattoos, right? You're a strong guy. I mean, if I came across you in public, I probably wouldn't have thought that somebody like you could be so vulnerable to a woman that had you wrapped around her finger.
I'm 6'1". I weigh about 240 pounds. I've been tattooed 15 times. I ride a Harley Davidson. I've been in martial arts for a long time. I have a great resting bitch face. And I'm a guy that people generally will look at and go, I don't know that I want a part of this. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm also really a good guy.
For context, Harry trained in Kung Tao, Filipino hand-to-hand combat, for 25 years.
There's a part of this story. You describe me as big, tough, whatever you don't want to mess with. But I was at my most vulnerable with this. I fell for it. This love brought me to my knees. And I'm telling my story not because I hate her, not because I want revenge against her, but we teach self-awareness in martial arts. We teach when you're on the street, be aware. Being self-aware, situational awareness. And I had none with Rachel.
Well, she disarmed you because the things that she was saying was what everybody ultimately wants, right? Like you got what everybody wants, but you fell in love with the equivalent of ChatGPT. I mean, she was just giving you back whatever response you wanted, right? Like she knew it.
Where did that come from? What you just said, you fell in love with. Like, it's true though. Like, think about it. That's probably what she was doing. Was she would say, I just got this message from my boyfriend. Well, how do I respond? Like right. that makes me sick.
Now we're giving people ideas. Let's go back to when you first met her, because this is a relationship that spans 20 years, 20 plus years, probably.
I moved across the country in 2001. I got to Vegas on January 4th. In April, I made a business trip to Houston, and I was single. I hadn't had any luck meeting people. I made a very good living, and I thought, I'm going to get some company when I go to Houston, the female company. And I set this date up with a girl named Madison. And, I hadn't done that before.
Madison was Rachel's escort name.
And then I get there and I meet her and she walks through the door, Javier, and I swear to God, like, she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Like, 21 years old, at the height of her beauty, winning beauty pageants, tall and sweet, like the sweetest.
When I met Rachel in 2001 in Houston, she was working as an escort. When I was introduced to her, she introduced herself as Madison. And then we had our one encounter, paid for it, and then she gave me her real name and her phone number, and that was it. I never knew her as Madison ever again.
And let's talk about that, because she was working as an escort when you met her, but prior to that, I mean, just a couple of years before that, she was competing in Miss Texan USA, right?
She was competing at that time. Wasn't it just a couple of years before that? She was in at 1998. She was in another one after I met her. She was disarming. She was charming. She was smart. And she was just so nice to me. Like, and maybe I was desperate to just be with someone that was going to be nice. I was looking for an hour of something nice.
So you have now crossed into a different realm, right? You're dating?
Yeah. And by the way, she used that. She used that in a way to say, well, you've always been my Harry since the beginning. It was always you for me. I just didn't realize it, right?
This all started in 2001. After that first encounter, Harry and Rachel kept in touch. They would meet up in Los Angeles. Sometimes Harry would fly her to Vegas.
There was no escort John relationship at that point. It was not boyfriend, girlfriend, but it was dating. And then, we just lost touch.
Harry got married, then divorced. Rachel moved on too. Harry said that she met a man named Mark at a strip club in Los Angeles, and they ended up getting married. 7 months later, she marries another man named Brian, while still married to Mark.
So she's now got two husbands at the same time.
I've seen both marriage certificates. Just wild.
And that lasted for 3 years. It took poor Brian, I spoke to him. It took poor Brian almost 3 years to get divorced from Rachel.
You had this encounter with an escort, right? And it turned into not an escort relationship. It turned into almost like, a casual relationship, and life goes on. You don't hear from this woman again. We know that in between, she's marrying all these guys, but you would think that once you parted ways, that you would never see this woman again. How did she re-enter your life?
And I never got Rachel out of my head, Javier. This was one of those things where there was always something about her, how sweet and how disarming she was with me. And I thought, I'm going to find her. And this was early days of social. I get on Facebook and I find her. How are you? How are you? And then one thing leads to another, and it's, Harry, what are you looking for? And I thought long and hard. And I said, I think happiness is what I'm looking for. In 2012, when I connect with her, she begins to share stuff with me. She begins to share that the second daughter is a product of an of an SA, and that was a brutal attack. And then she indicates that she's not happy in her marriage. Her husband is abusive, and she begins to paint Mark as this abusive man. I ended up seeing her at some point, maybe a year after. It took a year to see each other. She came to Vegas. And then I am sitting home one day and I get a message, I think on my phone, from her phone. It's text. And it's her friend Laura, who indicates that Rachel's in the hospital. You know, she got beaten up by Mark. And I ended up getting several of those messages. And at one point in time, I started to get messages from Laura directly.
In hindsight, knowing what we know now, Laura was just a figment of Rachel's imagination.
Laura's phone number is registered to Rachel. I think I'm talking to Rachel's friend. And I said, oh my God, what happened? And just playing on me. There was never any hospital stay. There was never any beating by Mark.
But Laura wasn't the only character Rachel created. Rachel had a whole cast of fake people in her life. And when one of them overstayed their welcome, well, she would kill them off. In your show, you talk about her almost as an assassin that kills off all these people throughout her life. But it was really interesting to hear it the way you talked about it. Like all these people that quote unquote died in her wake.
I call them Rachel killings, Rachel murders. In order to facilitate her story, she ended up killing a bunch of people off. Rachel has killed off so many people in our story that if the killings were real, she would be the most prolific female serial killer of our time. And then your dear friend Laura dies, colon cancer, and she takes her own life. And you had this client, Samantha, and this client, Stacy, and both of them, one took a life, one was killed by her brother. She began killing people off. She killed her sister. She killed Bobby. She killed Bobby's parents. She killed Laura. She killed our baby. And she, you know what I mean? Like, and on and on and on. And it's just, it's part of the act. Your sister in the car crash, and like, you go through it and you go, she's created this incredible life of tragedy. And not one bit of it is true. And she is an assassin. Don't get me wrong. She's an emotional assassin.
It seems nothing about Rachel is real, and she kind of reminds me of a guy that we've covered on this show. Wait till you get a load of this. That's after the break. In this economy, let's not let big wireless and your overpriced phone bill suck the joy out of the holiday seasons. Because right now, all of Mint Mobile's unlimited plans are 50% off. You can get 3, 6, or 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. They say it's their best deal of the year. Oh, and don't worry, you can bring your phone and your number over to Mint. There's no contracts, no nonsense. I recently started using Mint Mobile and I was super impressed by the signal that I get at my house. What a concept, right? For a long time, the only way I could make a call at home was with Wi-Fi. And now with Mint Mobile, I get a signal. Plus, it's a lot more affordable. So turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/pretend. That's mintmobile.com/pretend. Limited time offer, upfront payments of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plans. Plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extras. Initial plan term only. Greater than 35 gigabytes. May slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. It's finally cold outside. We're making holiday plans. And this is the time of year that I just need my wardrobe to work, to look sharp, to feel good, and something that I'll actually reach for in the closet. Lately, my go-to wardrobe is from Quince. Quince has what I need, like Mongolian cashmere sweaters for about $50. Who knew I needed that? But it's $50. You normally would drop $200 or more for the same type of sweater. And wool coats that hold up to daily wear and still look pretty sharp. For me, the most important thing is it needs to fit. And their denim fits right and it feels good. Same as the pants and the chinos. The outerwears are solid. The down jackets, the wool, the leather coats. I could go on and on. But all of this cozy stuff is going to keep you warm in the cold. So here's the model that I could get behind, because Quince partners directly with trusted factories. They have high standards, real craftsmanship. Plus, they cut out the middleman and the markups. So you get premium quality about half the cost. And here's a quick personal note. The down jacket that I just picked up is getting me through this winter cold weather. It looks good, it keeps me warm, and it doesn't cost a fortune. As the holidays hits, that's the piece I keep reaching for. And yes, Quince has gifts covered beyond clothing too. They got home, bath, kitchen, and travel. So get your wardrobe sorted and your gift list handled with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/pretendpod for free shipping on your order and a 365-day return. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/pretendpod. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/pretendpod.
And we had an amazing night filled with her lies, filled with, I'm a lawyer, I'm going to be in the Kristen Smart case, I own 3 homes, I real estate sales,
Yeah, so help, because the audience is going to have a hard time with this, right. Because you meet her, she's into pageants, but she's also an escort. And now, she has this dormant period where you don't really see her from 2012, maybe,
sure.
to 2021, almost 10 years later. And in that time period, she has amassed a hell of a resume, right?
Yeah. So let me give you the history on that so the audience understands it. When I met her in 2001, she wanted to always go to law school. It took her a long time, but she got it. She passed the bar and she went to go work for this never husband's father in his firm. And she also had a nursing license, an LVN license, according to her. So when we met in August of 2021, it wasn't like she just miraculously had become a lawyer and become a nurse and become this woman. She had these things set up in the plot line. So we sit down, I'm like, tell me about your life. I'm a lawyer. I'm doing real estate law. I'm doing a bunch of deals. And are you a true crime fan? Of course I am. And she said, the Kristen Smart case. And she lays the groundwork that she is a friend of Dan Dow, who's the district attorney in San Luis Obispo. And Dan thinks so much of her as an attorney, a real estate attorney, that he invites her to sit second chair in the Kristen Smart case. I'm like, wow, I don't know anything about the law, but holy hell.
She reminds me of a female Frank Abagnale. Do you know who Frank Abagnale is?
Yeah, he's Catch Me If You Can.
So remember, he was a pilot, doctor, lawyer, professor. So she's actually a pilot right now?
She told people she's a pilot. She said to people at the airport, listen, I'm a pilot. I'm a helicopter pilot. I fly for Mercy Air. I'm also a trauma nurse. That's the scam she was running simultaneously to me. Telling the girls at the airport she's a pilot. Telling them that she's a nurse. They're like, holy cow, she's a trauma nurse for Mercy Air and she's a helicopter pilot. She's doing that so she can get the benefits. And she said, I'm doing this so I can get the benefits. And I need the extra money. I'm a single mom. And I see you shaking your head, and everyone else that hears it shakes their head. And I shook my head.
There's no evidence that Rachel has a pilot license, but she is an American Airlines baggage handler. Here is one of Rachel's former coworkers and a clip from the podcast, The Rachel Cancer Scam.
I do remember there was one story she told me. I have a second job. She was supposed to come hang out with me there. And that night she canceled on me because she was flying a helicopter. We would always brag about her, it's so incredible that you're a helicopter pilot, but you're also starting at the airport. I never questioned any of it because we have such a wide array of people working with us that have all different qualifications and in legitimate backgrounds. And my coworker started to question her, and they were asking her for proof. We want to see your pilot's license. We want to see your nursing license. It was photoshopped. I have it in my phone. I can look at the message, and if you zoom in, you can see that the number is blurry. The names don't match. It's not the same font.
It seems like Rachel had everyone fooled. But eventually, her house of cards collapsed. Mark, the man that Rachel had been married to for more than 20 years, they had 4 kids together, and it's now 2023, and Rachel was gone again.
Rachel's been disappearing, not home a lot, telling Mark she's with friends, with coworkers. Mark's at that point decided to utilize Find My Phone and realizes Rachel's at a home in Paso Robles up the road. He goes, bangs on the door. Rachel's car's in the driveway. It's Russ in his pajamas.
Mark, Rachel's husband, tells the guy,
hey, I'm looking for my wife. And Rachel doesn't come out eventually. She comes out. She goes home.
A few days later, Mark finds the guy all over Rachel.
Mark gets out of his car. A fist fight ensues. The guys each end up knocking each other down. Rachel's in the middle of it.
After the fight, Mark goes to pick up their daughter, Madison, up from the airport, and she asks him, "Dad, why is your face all busted up?"
And then Mark said, "I had a fight with Mom's boyfriend."
Madison, Rachel's daughter, asked, "Who, Harry?"
Mark says, "Who the fuck's Harry?"
That's when Mark realized that Rachel was not cheating on him with one guy, but multiple different guys.
The oldest kid, the daughter formerly known as Madison, knew me because she spotted my Instagram account.
Here's Madison, Rachel, and Mark's daughter talking with Harry on the Rachel Cancer Scam podcast.
I'd gone through your Instagram and found it, and I found photos of you and my mom in Santa Barbara. And I was like, that's kind of weird because my mom does overnight nursing. That's a little odd. I looked through the comments and I looked through the title of the post, and it was like, with my Rachel, or quick getaway, or someone had asked, "Are you guys dating?" And you had said yes. And my mom had responded with like a kissy face emoji, as if like confirming you guys are dating. Oh, my mom's cheating on my dad. Okay. Your friend Harry, he seems to think you guys are dating. And she said, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, they're the post about you two dating." And she was like, he's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. He's obsessed with me. And I was like, "Yeah, what's crazy is that you commented a kissy face on there, like confirming it." And she was like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
So tell me about Madison, because I thought that was a pretty mind-blowing story. And she knows the truth about her mom at this point. And tell me about the origins of her name, Madison.
Yeah. When I met Rachel in 2001 in Houston, she was working as an escort. When I was introduced to her, she introduced herself as Madison. And then we had our one encounter, paid for it, and then she gave me her real name and her phone number, and that was it. I never knew her as Madison ever again. Fast forward to 2012 when we reconnect, and she said, I've had 4 kids, and she's kind of going through, this is my life. I did the same thing. And I said, "What are your kids' names?" And she said, "My oldest is Madison." And we kind of laughed about it. I'm like, wait a minute, you named your daughter after your escort stripper model name? Really? Thought that was kind of odd.
I remember being on the phone with my dad, and he was just sharing stories with me about how he met my mom. And he was like, "Oh, when I met her, she was an exotic dancer at the club I worked at, and she actually went by the name Madison." And I was pretty disgusted, and I immediately was like, "Okay, I got to change my name. Like, there's no way."
Madison has since changed her name. After Mark discovered Rachel had been seeing Harry, he decided to give this stranger a call. And keep in mind, Harry thinks that Rachel is dying in a hospital.
563 days after her ambulance ride to French Hospital. On that day, I had not been hearing from her over the last month very much, sometimes once a week or twice a week. Remember, we had gone every single day, all day long, texting and, the brain surgeries and this, and she was feeling weak and whatever. She made every excuse.
That's when, out of the blue, Harry gets a call from Mark.
At this point, all I know about Mark is that he is the guy that beat the shit out of her in 2012. And I thought, he's calling because he knows I'm involved with her, and this is going to be ugly. This is going to be ugly for him. It ain't going to be ugly for me. What do you want? Let's go outside and discuss it. That's where I go. And I call him back. I said, "Hey, Mark, it's Harry. I don't know why the fuck you're calling me, what the nature of your phone call is, but she's not your wife. She left you 12 years ago when you beat the shit out of her.
And you're engaged to her."
He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Who is she to you?" I said, she's my fiance. And he said, fiance? Really? He said, when's the last time you saw her? I said, I saw her before the day she started cancer treatment on May 5th of 2022 in Santa Barbara, the last time we saw each other. And she's in the hospital now in protective isolation. And he said, the hospital? She's never been sick a day in her life. And I said, you don't know what you're talking about. And he said, I'm not looking to fight with you. He said, this phone number you're calling me from, it's your cell phone? I said, yeah. He sends me a video of Rachel walking in the house, the Ring camera the night before, with roses in her hand from her new boyfriend, Russ. And then he said to me, do you know the name Russ so-and-so? And I said, no, I don't know that name. I said, who is that? He said, that's Rachel's boyfriend. That's where I found her last week. And she's been there for like the last couple months, on and off, every night. So I text Rachel, hey, you know Russ? And I haven't talked to her in like a week at this point. I said, do you know Russ so-and-so? She responds to me immediately. She said, no, I don't know who that is. And I said, are you sure you don't know Russ? And I give his last name. She said, I have no idea who that is. And then I said, I just got a call from Mark. You know, your husband, Mark. And she said, what did he want? He's been coming around causing trouble. I said, coming around the ICU, coming around the hospital, coming around where?
You were the girl in the bubble, like not too long ago.
Yes, yeah. And at this point, I'm like, you want to screw around? You want to be sarcastic? You want to lie? Let's go. You're not sick. You were never in the hospital. You never had cancer. You're not paralyzed. You never had any brain surgery. Where are you right now? And I'm sitting there staring at my phone, waiting for the bubbles to pop up so I could see that she's texting. She said, Harry, my situation has recently changed, and I've chosen not to include you. How do you reconcile that? I wanted to spend my life with her. I was looking online to order a special bed and to do some handicap, stuff around the house and ways to accommodate her when she could get out of the hospital. Like I'm looking at the future and she's looking at her next con. I was pissed.
And Mark, her soon-to-be ex, is still trying to piece it all together. In this clip from the Rachel Cancer Scam podcast, Harry asked Mark how he missed all those red flags.
You're a smart guy. How did you not know what was going on with her? How did you not see these red flags? Why didn't you respond? I guess, I'll start with you and say, when did you know that something was off? How did you not know? You're a smart guy. Talk to me about that.
Well, now I'm starting to kind of doubt that.
This kind of thing will do that to you, right?
Yeah, you start to second guess yourself after a while. I mean, I was on the phone with my mom last night and she said the same thing to me. How did you not know? And I'm like, I said, it's real easy to overlook things when you are engulfed in life, because running a business, and I think I just got so enveloped in life and responsibility and making sure that my kids had everything they need, making sure Rachel had what she needed, making sure that everybody else had what they needed. It didn't offer a lot of time for me to sit back and reflect on, is my wife.
He stopped himself. Mark explains that he was just thinking ahead. At one day selling his company, retiring, he was so focused on the future and everyone at work who depended on him that he failed to see what was right in front of him.
And that's kind of where my mind was for the last 20 years, is just making sure that everything was done and nothing was slipping through the cracks. But I just didn't even look in my own backyard at the cracks that were there.
But with this thing with Rachel, when people say, I'm sorry this happened to you, we were talking about Mark a minute ago and all of this with Mark and him finding out. One of my go-to answers when people say, I'm so sorry this happened to you, You poor guy. I can't believe she would do this. I always say the same thing. I deflect. And I say, well, imagine for a minute what it's like for her actual husband, still husband, guy who still can't get his divorce done yet. For 22 years, he was married to a woman that lied at every turn, that had 10 affairs, that faked pregnancy. She faked 11 pregnancies that we can find.
And she's technically still married with Mark. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And
why can't he get a divorce? Like what?
They're in process. It's going on right now. It's an ugly fight. My feeling is that you would have a conversation with her. She would say, listen, he's a liar. He's a stalker. He was obsessed with me.
I called several numbers associated with Rachel, and each one was a bust. When people say, why would she do all this?
And by the way, not for money, not for a boat, not for a car, not for a house. I lied to Harry for attention. I never got enough attention.
The last episode is going to be this tape I have, an hour recording of Mark and Rachel, where Rachel is just admitting to everything she's done. It's almost like being able to say, you want the receipts, you want the biggest receipt. Here's the biggest receipt. Here's Rachel on tape saying, I don't know why I cheated. I just feel badly about myself. I want attention. I needed attention.
And even through all of this, after everything she's done, I get the feeling that Harry is still not quite over Rachel. You mentioned that you do have a new relationship, but I doubt, and I don't know you, I just bet you, that you'll ever allow yourself to fall that deep with somebody again.
You know, I don't want to utter those words to the woman I'm seeing, but
Right.
The reality is that, you know, I'll never allow myself to be in that spot again. And I love the girl that I'm with. She's delightful and she's sweet and she has been with me. The entire existence of our relationship has been the Rachel Cancer scam. She's in this picture right here.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Of us. That's her. And she's adorable and she's sweet and she just loves me and just wants to be with me. And the feeling is mutual. And I don't know that I'll ever get married.
If you enjoyed this episode, check out the Rachel Cancer Scam podcast. I interviewed Harry for more than 3 hours and somehow boiled all of this down to under 40 minutes. Pretty remarkable, really. Trust me when I say that this is the Cliff Notes version. We barely scratched the surface. If you want to learn more, find the Rachel Cancer Scam podcast wherever you're listening to right now. Today's episode was written by me, Javier Leiva. Our theme music is by Joel Basile with thechicken.net. I got some really fun stories cooking up for you. One really, really crazy series is in the works. I'm trying something new where I interview one of my Patreon supporters, and we're going to talk about the episode that was released that week. So if you are a Patreon supporter, and if you're interested in being on one of these episodes, send me a message. Send me an email, javier@pretendradio.org. I'd love to chat with you. Also, I'll be talking about some of the stories that just didn't make it onto this show because I couldn't find a proper contact or I just hit a series of dead ends. I hope you guys enjoy these bonus episodes. We'll see how it goes. Give me some feedback. Leave me a comment on Spotify. Tell me if you like it. All right, that's it for now. We'll be back with a brand new episode next week. Talk to you then.